Chapter 16. Samson went to Gaza, and there saw a prostitute, and went in to her. It was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come here. They surrounded him, and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and they were quiet all the night, saying, Let's wait until morning light, then we will kill him. Samson lay until midnight, and arose at midnight, and laid hold of the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts, and plucked them up, bar and all, and put them on his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of the mountain that is before Hebron. It came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. The lords of the Philistines came to her and said to her, Entice him, and see in which his great strength lies, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will each give you 1,100 pieces of silver. Delilah said to Samson, Tell me, please, in which your great strength lies, and with what you might be bound to afflict you. Samson said to her, If they bind me with 7 green cords that were never dried, then I shall become weak, and be as another man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green cords which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now she had liers in wait abiding in the inner chamber. She said to him, The Philistines are on you, Samson. He broke the cords as a string of tow is broken when it touches the fire, so his strength was not known. Delilah said to Samson, Behold, you have mocked me, and told me lies. Now tell me, please, with which you might be bound. He said to her, If they only bind me with new ropes, with which no work has been done, then I shall become weak, and be as another man. So Delilah took new ropes, and bound him therewith, and said to him, The Philistines are on you, Samson. The liers in wait were abiding in the inner chamber. He broke them off his arms like a thread. Delilah said to Samson, Hitherto you have mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me with which you might be bound. He said to her, If you weave the 7 locks of my head with the web. So she fastened it with the pin, and said to him, The Philistines are on you, Samson. He awakened out of his sleep, and plucked away the pin of the beam and the web. She said to him, How can you say I love you, when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me these 3 times, and have not told me in which your great strength lies. It happened, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, that his soul was vexed to death. He told her all his heart, and said to her, No razor has ever come on my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaved, then my strength will go from me, and I will become weak, and be like any other man. When Delilah saw that she had told him all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he has told me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up to her, and brought the money in their hand. She made him sleep on her knees, and she called for a man, and shaved off the 7 locks of his head, and she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. She said, The Philistines are on you, Samson. He awoke out of his sleep, and said, I will go out as at other times, and shake myself free. But he didn't know that the Lord had departed from him. The Philistines laid hold on him, and put out his eyes, and they brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. However, the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaved. The lords of the Philistines gathered them together to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon their god, and to rejoice, for they said, Our God has delivered Samson our enemy into our hand. When the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, Our God has delivered into our hand our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, who has slain many of us. It happened, when their hearts were merry, that they said, Call for Samson, that he may make sport for us. They called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made sport before them. They set him between the pillars. And Samson said to the boy who held him by the hand, Allow me that I may feel the pillars whereon the house rests, that I may lean on them. Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were on the roof about 3,000 men and women, who saw while Samson made sport. Samson called to the Lord and said, Lord God, remember me, please, and strengthen me. Please only this once, God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars on which the house rested, and leaned on them, the one with his right hand, and the other with his left. Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. He bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell on the lords, and on all the people who were therein. So the dead that he killed as his death were more than those who he killed in his life. Then his brothers and all the house of his father came down and took him, and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father. He judged Israel 20 years.